This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now it's time to see what Kyle Bauer and Dwayne Tabes are up to today on Plain Talk.
Your fact or fiction question of the day, Kyle Bauer. George W. Bush was once a cheerleader. Fact or fiction?
That is a fact. He was a Yale leader at Yale.
Oh, a Yale. How do you tell the difference between a cheerleader and a Yale leader?
Because he does a lot more yelling.
Okay.
He yells at everybody.
Makes sense.
He was, for a soft-spoken guy, he did a lot of yelling while he was at Yale.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, it's not, is it? I
thought?
just always think that's funny. Every time I hear somebody from Yale, I think
From
that.
Yale?
Yeah, I think that very same thing. Okay. Just 200 years ago, 85% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty.
Oh.
200 years ago. That would be about the time our country was started. That would be, no, it was after the War of 1812, 18, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
85% of the world lived in extreme poverty.
That's a lot.
But what is extreme poverty? It did not tell me what
know
extreme poverty is.
Some of the articles that I have read referred to one's ability to secure their next meal.
That would make sense to me. That's extreme as far as I'm concerned. As long as I have shelter,
right.
I'm okay. Or maybe it's not food or shelter. I don't know, because you could have plenty of food but not have a warm place to sleep.
That'd be a problem.
Of course, in the winter, lots of places. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, 85% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty. 20 years ago, that was 29%.
Really? Dropped to 29 from
29% from 85.
In 180 years, we dropped a
lot. And we have a lot more people.
Well, yeah.
Well, think about
world population 200 years ago versus
couldn't
20?
have been a billion. Well, I'm sure it wasn't a billion 200 years ago.
Wow.
And 5 years ago, or 20 years ago, would have been at least 5 billion.
A percent is a lot more people today.
Yeah.
Then.
So we've come a long way. There's a reason to celebrate right there. But today.
All right.
Today, though.
In the last
is
20
it up
years.
or down from there? 29% 20 years ago.
I would have said it maybe dropped to 25.
So it's gone down a little bit.
Down a little bit.
I can't even give you half credit on that one, Dwayne. Dropped clear to 9%. 9% of the world's population. And think about it. A third of the world's population lives in China and India.
Right.
And they have done a good job in the last 20 years.
They're middle income or at least reasonable income level.
When I was a little boy, I mean, the old saying was, eat what's on your table. There's kids starving in India.
Yeah.
Exactly. Today, there is not anyone starving in anyone. They feed their people
everywhere, but the reality
they feed their people pretty well.
Yeah.
So just those two countries alone would skew that number hugely.
I would expect.
Yeah. So only 9%. Now, if you're one of that 9%,
it's still a problem.
It's still a problem.
Yeah.
And I think it's think about 9%. Okay, 1 in 10. 1 in 10 people in this world still live in extreme poverty. When you put it that way, you kind of go, wow.
Sounds like quite a few.
Yeah, exactly.
But considering we came from 85.
Right. Well, and 29 just 20 years ago. Yeah. But that last 10%, if you think about that, I suspect it's fairly isolated to a few regions, and I'm going to put most of it, in my mind, on the African continent.
I suspect you're probably a fair assessment.
So when you can narrow it down like that and you see what the Indians and the Chinese have been able to do over the last 20 years, if we in the world concentrate on Africa, wow, we could get that number down a lot.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.